Texas teachers, part of a committee, they have recommended to the state of Texas to eliminate the word slavery and replace it with involuntary relocation. I kid you not. This is happening because of a state law that was passed in Texas and signed by the governor. I'm going to get into that in a moment. Let me bring your attention to Senate Bill 3. In this case, a group proposing second grade curriculum revisions was given a copy of Senate Bill 3. Senate Bill 3 is a Texas law that dictates how slavery and other issues of race are taught in the state of Texas. The law states that slavery cannot, hear me loud and clear, cannot be taught as part of the true founding of the United States, and that slavery was nothing more than a deviation from American values, okay? So you already see what they're doing. They're creating the pretext so they can have a curriculum context to teach that America had nothing to do with slavery. Which means by extension, if America had nothing to do with slavery, then America has nothing to do with racism, bigotry, sexism, etc. They are literally creating laws through statute in order to manipulate the historical context of this nation, so that children are learning not a watered down version of America, but an untrue one. This is law in the state of Texas, Senate Bill 3. So these individuals, which by the way included individuals on the right and the left, it included people in public education and collegiate education. They decided after reading Senate Bill 3 that they would make a proposal. Yes, it's a dumbass proposal, but I will give you the background. So public schools in Texas would describe slavery to second graders as involuntary relocation under new social studies standards proposed to the state's education board. A group of 9 educators submitted the idea to the State Board of Education as part of their effort to develop a new social studies curriculum. That's according to the Texas Tribune. This is a once in a decade process. They update curriculum, and this impacts nearly 9,000 public schools. Let me show you the guy in charge of Texas education. His name is Jeff Ellis. Now, let me remind you of the person who signed the ridiculous legislation, Senate Bill 3, and that's Governor Abbott, okay? All right, so the board, with unanimous consent, I want you to remember that. Not one person on this board said, you know what, this is a bad idea. The board, with unanimous consent, directed the work group to revisit the specific language. Kevin Ellis, chair of the Texas State Board of Education, said in a statement according to the Tribune, board member Ika Davis, a Democrat who represents Dallas and Fort Worth, raised concerns during a June 15th meeting that the term was not a fair representation of the slave trade. You don't say. The board sent the draft back for revision, urging the educator group to carefully examine the language used to describe events. That's what they said, all right? I can't say what their intention was, but that's not going to be acceptable, Davis told the Tribune on Thursday. Now, Davis is really interesting because Davis is a Democrat on the committee. Now, the question is, well, why did you not provide pushback? Why was there a unanimous vote? Well, on that day, for whatever reason, Davis was not there at the final vote as it relates to this particular recommendation. So while there is an official rebuttal on the record, there was no official vote on the record protesting this ridiculous proclamation about slavery. All right, there's more. The board is considering curriculum changes 1 year after Texas passed a law to eliminate topics from schools that make students feel discomfort, all right? The state's public education system has become heavily politicized in recent years, with lawmakers passing legislation to dictate how race and slavery should be taught in schools, and conservative groups pouring large amounts of money into school board races. So part of the proposed draft standards obtained by the Tribune say students should compare journeys to America, including voluntary Irish immigration and involuntary relocation of African people during colonial times. That's all, people. Slavery? No, it was involuntary movement during colonial times adverse to the values of America. This was not part of the American expression. It was a deviation from American values. That's what they're literally by law mandated to teach. A complete lie. A complete lie. The foundation of this country is rooted in slavery, bigotry, and racism. The people that founded this country thought it was okay. Most of them thought it was okay to own another person. It is fundamental to the DNA of this nation. And it's also fundamental to understand it so that you can unravel the reality that we are today. Without acknowledgement, there is no transformation. They are trying to indoctrinate children away from the reality of their own country. Because if children know the reality of this country, they may actually seek to remedy the problems that exist in it. Texas drew attention for a similar situation in 2015 when a student noticed wording in a textbook that referred to slaves who were brought to America as workers. The publisher decided to apologize. Texas private institutions have already implemented this massive revisionist history. And yes, it's coming to a city near you. Be vigilant. My dear brother, what are your thoughts here?
Involuntary relocation sounds like a really dope rap group that can explain the 3/5 compromise really well. Think Bone Thugs in Harmony, but modern. How is this not what we're talking about? How is this not indoctrination? Withholding correct education and information from students. For the last 8 to 12 years, I've been told that because I went to a university and I got an education, that has been indoctrination. I've been indoctrinated into a liberal type of a mindset. This is gross. This is wrong. Involuntary relocation is just a small part of what went on. I mean, we gotta think about the Middle Passage, slave codes, the black codes, beast of burdens, destroying families and lives and culture, people being slaves simply because their mothers were enslaved. Like the involuntary relocation is just a small, minute part of this whole thing. And so they're telling only small, minuscule truths, and that's dangerous in and of itself.
Yeah, well said.